There is a surprising statistic that I want to share with you. Latin American's population is only 8% of the world's population, but one-third of the world's homicides. The worst numbers were mainly in three Central American countries. There are Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. Imagine the effect this relentless violence can have on one's health, productivity, and mental state. In particular, because we don't know if we are exposed to violence, we can get traumatized. And when that happens, our brain's stress response stops its cue functions, such as problem solving, critical thinking, and emotion regulation. Finally, affecting the ability to shelter and survive. We will find it difficult to make decisions and even maintain relationships. Trauma also increases the risk of lung and heart disease, diabetes, anxiety, and depression. So imagine how that would affect a community where almost everyone goes through life with unresolved stress and trauma. Then imagine what could happen if individual trauma and collective trauma met. Whereas someone who is exposed to violence can trigger other violence. Research shows that survivors of violence are 6 times more likely to engage in violence or become victims again. That's the definition of a vicious circle. The good news is that we can interrupt this cycle by addressing underlying trauma through mental health care. The problem is that access to such care in this society is almost non-existent. So you just understand, in the United States, there are about 270 mental health workers for every 100,000 people. In Honduras, there are only 2 workers. Then we are faced with this classic puzzle. We know the solution, but there are no resources to do it. However, let's rethink what and who are these resources. I think we should do it because there are many ways to give that access to the people. It has been done and it works. I will give an example of how to do it in Glasgow, namely training thousands of state employees such as teachers, nurses, doctors, police in trauma education and self-care. Basically, we are trying to create a core of frontline mental health workers who are already serving on the front lines so that they can cope and mitigate the effects of violence and trauma on themselves and the community they serve. We have trained them to be able to recognize signs of trauma so that it can help patients understand what they are going through and as a means of coping or referring them if needed. We have seen in hospitals that patients who have been educated can reduce their chances of re-victimization by up to 30%. In schools, we know that when children and teens get adults' attention, so they can deal with stress, their grades improve as does their behavior and resilience. Then, in our efforts with the police, 90% of the police officers we trained felt better because they were able to regulate their emotions and deal with their anxieties and fears. 80% even said feeling better could help their partner. There are many ways to do things that can be imitated in order to avoid the physical. We know we can provide mental health care in the community by ordinary people. I am talking about the community and about changing the system at the same time. First, we train everyone in public schools, government hospital, clinics, police station about trauma, education, and self-care, so that they can take better care of themselves as well as understand and manage trauma. Then we train some as interventionists so that they can handle emergencies, carry out crisis interventions, and provide ongoing assistance. Moreover, train some of the interventionists as trainers to pass on to their colleague and other organizations so that we have a thriving educated network in each community. Amazingly, more is like these are affordable and effective because we work in a public system with people who already exist. We really know that violence occurs between people as well as recovery that where it started. So the strength is a person, relationships, community are healing. My favorite quote from Victor Frank on message for meaning. Between encouragement and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. Then, in our response, there is our growth and our freedom. Our goal is to tap into that space between encouragement and response with the science and skills of mental health so that communities can find their way to healing and resilience. Thank you, everyone.